Hello everyone, welcome once again. We are in the improve phase. We are at the end of the improve phase rather. We are sitting in the Tollgate review of the improve phase. One of the last phases of the DMAC methodology, define, measure, analyze, improve and control. We are actually at the last of this methodology, and this is a very important phase where we have built the solutions, we develop them, we prioritize them, we test them, and we finally implemented them. The team works hard, the team waits for this day when they have solutions which are implemented almost towards the end of the project. But we are not, it is not over until it is over. So Tollgate review is still pending. As you can see on my screen here, the black belt and project coach is sitting in the project review session, and you have the business sponsor sitting in the Tollgate review session, and they're asking their typical questions. So we'll talk about the questions, but things that we need to do in a improve phase. List of potential solutions, as you can see on the screen. Selected solutions, because you may have multiple solutions but you prioritize only few. Optimization of the solution setting, if you are changing any solutions. FMEA needs to be done, which is in terms of identifying any risk in the process or the solutions. Impact of selected solutions on the benefits, and the pilot as needed if required. And so the main output of the improve phase is the validated solutions. That's what we have to look at. And if you move to the next slide, where we talk about the kind of question that you can expect from the sponsors and the business case. So the first question that they ask is, which is the typical question which is always asked, did anything change in the charter? Typical question that we asked in the measure phase, analyze phase, and now we are asking in the improve phase also. What has changed in charter? When you develop the solutions, did the scope change? Do you think based on the solutions you have built, the goal will also change? Maybe it gives us more benefits than we could have thought of or we had thought of earlier. We don't know. So the kind of question they're asking is, the first question is, has the project charter changed or not? The next question they would like to ask you is, how did you generate solution alternatives? As simple as alternative. You may have generated solutions, but did you find any option B, plan B? If this solution doesn't work, then what will you do in that case? Did you generate any alternatives? That is also a very important action point here. Then the next question which you can expect is, what criteria did you use to evaluate potential solutions? So you generated solutions, but how did you test them? How did you test whether they will work or not? Did you have any criteria? How do the evaluation criteria tie to business strategy and project objective? Very important. You decided this is the project success criteria for a solution to pass or solution to be effective, but is it really relevant to the strategy of the goal of the organization or goal of the project? It should tie to it. It should not just tie to the project itself. You want to close it or complete it, but it should really have a relevance or the or an impact on the overall business strategy, because the project again has to connect with the strategy. So the solution also have to have a connect with the business strategy. And then another question you can expect is, how does your preferred solution or solutions address the root cause of the problem? Very important question. You may have built great solutions, you have done a lot of things in it, testing, piloting, assessing risk, but do they really address the root causes? They will ask you this question. Do they really solve the problem? If you say yes, then how do they solve it? You have to, before you implement it, you have to talk about it in that meeting and convince them that it is really going to help. Otherwise, you will not be able to get the support needed to implement solutions. What is the cost benefit if you implement a solution? So let's say if you implement a solution, how much cost it might attract to implement solution? What kind of benefits can we expect from these solutions? We do this analysis. And did you make any assumptions, by the way, when you were assessing those, evaluating those solutions? Did you involve a financial expert if needed, who can help you to understand the cost-benefit analysis? And next question you can expect, which is a very typical question: how did you pilot the solution? Did you pilot first of all? If yes, then how did you pilot? What criteria did you choose? What conditions did you choose for your pilot? And how did you choose that particular area? And when you implemented the solution completely, finally, then what kind of learnings did you have from that situation when you implemented on a high scale? And did you identify any specific challenge or any dependency from the outscope areas when you implemented solution that you realized that maybe anything that was not part of the project, which you put in the out of a scope area in the charter, Did you find any dependencies with them? Did your solution touch any of the out of scope boundaries? That's very important to understand. And we can talk about if it touches any out of the scope area, how did you address it? How did you solve that particular issue? And a very important question which they always ask, in fact it can be the first question which the sponsor and black belt can ask: why are we changing? Why this solution? Why do we need this change? Why not something else? And if they agree that this is the change you want to bring, then what is the communication plan? What is the strategy? What is the change strategy? How would you bring that change in the organization? And it's a cultural aspect, as we understand that changing something in a process is a very sensitive issue. So how do you plan to address that sensitive issue, the culture part of the organization? Will your plan impact the culture of the organization? If yes, then how, in which way, and how will you plan to address it? And the last question that you can expect is, how well did the process performance and project performance fall within the risk limit? So you would have already assessed certain risk. You would have had mitigation plans also. But then when you're implementing the project or the solutions, you would definitely like to understand the risk that you had identified and the actual solution that we have had. How much risk can actually happen? What can really actually happen in the process? And if the solution really runs the risk of not be able to move to a level, or not be able to pass that criteria of the success criteria, a real problem can come in. I know there may be risk always. People may reject it, people may resist it, or some things may fail. But what is the risk? How much risk do you think it may be there while we implement the overall solution, or while we design the overall solutions? So, or while we implement. So that's a key consideration. So these are the key consideration in the Tollgate review that we have put together for the improve phase. This is the second last phase of the project, but we don't become complacent here while we work on the improve phase. Here we have developed solution, implemented also. Do we stop here? Do we end here? Is the project completed? Why do we need control phase if we have the solution, if we implement it? We need control phase. We need control phase because we may have developed the solution, we may have assessed the risk, we may have piloted it, we may have implemented, we may have seen greater results also, but we need to ensure that the solutions that we have developed, it is for the betterment of the process, but that betterment should stay in the long run. It should not happen that your solutions may, however they would have changed or improved the process, but it should not go back to its previous state. Solution should not stop working in the long run. So you need to build a control plan that will ensure if something happens in the process, in the solution in the long run, what actions you would take, what will be your response plan, how will you monitor this solution that you have just put together. So that needs to be prepared and tracked in the long run. So solution needs to be sustainable. So we will talk about sustainability of the solution in the long run in the control phase, which is the last phase, but the most important phase, because we don't want to be complacent with the solution that we have put together. This is the end of the improve phase and also the Tollgate review. Thank you for watching. This is Shivendra Sharma.